Today I'm going to do an introduction to a curriculum called Around the World, A Journey Through the Continents. And these are some materials just to give you a quick idea of what it is. Let's go ahead and read the introduction. I'm going to go ahead and read the introduction. These are actually lesson plans that I created for my children, and I'm sharing them on Teachers Pay Teachers. My site is Create and Wonder Products. Create and Wonder Products seek to launch home educators and their students into customizing their own learning experience by organizing content for them in a meaningful way. These unit study guides will lead you into a year-long adventure through the continents, month by month. Each month's units integrate writing prompts, science, history, geography, literature, memory work, Bible, holidays, season, and related projects, art, STEM, or experiments. Students will use the information they gather from the books to launch them into writing on the topic they are learning about, and at their own writing level. Each week, a writing menu is given. At the end of the month, the student will compile their writing drawings or art, maps, coloring pages, and any other productions together into a book. I suggest using directed art drawing on YouTube for art and mainly for students to illustrate their writing. The students' writing, memory work, oral narration, discussion you have, use of maps or globes, and sorting of Montessori cards are all ways you could assess your child's growth. Keep a portfolio or follow your state's guidelines. As part of the adventure, families will be gathering their own books on the continents and science units each month. Families may need to find further directions for STEM and science experiments online, where directions are not explicit. Families will need to buy a math curriculum and may opt to buy a language arts program or supplemental materials. Many families find that writing is a weak point in language arts curriculum. In this case, the writing in this curriculum will provide additional opportunities, or they could be standalone. You can just use the writing opportunities here. This will be a rewarding and enriching way to lay a foundation for your child to understand their world, the land, the animals, the people, the history, and more. All right, this page is really helpful. It's an overview of the whole year, month by month. And it says first grade, but this could be adapted for any grade by choosing to have them write more, having them, choosing different books to go along with it that would, be up or down in level. You can be as simple as you want and just spend a few days or the whole month slowly going through the land, the animals, and the people, and the things like that for each of the continents. So August is going to talk about these things, and the green is science, and that kind of green color is nature study. Social studies or history is orange, field trip ideas is teal, and holidays are pink. So orange, here's our history / geography, and it's the Me on the Map unit I mentioned. That's kind of the big focus of August, and it ties in a brief weather unit that you could do. And then the holidays, Elderly Day, and the idea is library or children's museum, maybe being seeing the manatees, because the Me on the Map unit, as we'll discuss in more detail, has the child pause each week, 1 week in the world, 1 week in their state, and so on and so forth. Actually, I think it has a couple weeks in their country and a couple weeks in their state, or you can choose to piece it out how you want so that you could even talk more in detail about things like symbols and things around the United States specifically, not just the North American continent. And you could really focus on their state. And our state is Florida, so I noted that we could go see manatees, which we did not get to do, unfortunately. And then September, it's kind of severe and natural weather and natural disasters, which I kind of tied in with world weather as we're getting ready to launch into our first continent, but have not yet at this point. Tadpoles are out in Florida this time of the year, so we do tadpoles. It's like a little side thing. And then, so it's like you can split it up and have like a couple weeks on the science and a couple weeks on the history or the seasonal unit. And so September is a seasonal time. So we did a seasonal study, with Johnny Appleseed and the seasons. And then here's our holidays and Cracker Country Homeschool. It's like an old town type of place you can go visit. For October, the focus was North America. The seasonal or science unit was animals in the fall and just farm animals, anything like that. And we gave a lot of suggestions for different fun fall science seasonal type units, life science mainly. Holidays, and a good field trip would be the pumpkin patch or the farm or both. November, North America is the continent still, so we do 2 months in North America since that's our continent, and also because it made sense to me because November's Thanksgiving, and we're talking a lot about North American history with the Pilgrims, Native Americans, and then moving into the colonial days. And for science, so we're going to do physics and talk about matter, and I kept it really light. Basically, the big focus is the journey through the continents. And for science, we would do like one science day a week, like Thursdays perhaps, and do like one experiment or read aloud or activity a week for science. The holidays are Thanksgiving and Veterans Day. And then I had some suggested field trip ideas. December, I picked Antarctica to be the continent because it's cold and entering into winter. Of course, you could go into it in January instead. And so I decided we talk about Antarctica compared to the Arctic, even though the Arctic is part of the North American continent. I thought that'd be a good link to North America, going from North America to the top of North America in the Arctic and then into Antarctica and comparing them. Of course, there's a lot of Advent and Christmas read-alouds and stack times, so you can take this as a really light approach and focus more on Christmas. Okay, on to January. The focus of January is the continent of Australia, and the reason I picked January to be the month is because Australia Day falls in January, so that made sense to me. And the science once a week would be physics and focus on force and motion. Gravity, pushes and pulls, friction, speed, acceleration, all that type of stuff. You could do simple machines, and that's where you can amp it up or down depending on the age of the child. These are the holidays. We had a lot of fun with Martin Luther Day, Martin Luther King Jr., Winnie the Pooh Day, National Bird Day, Opposite Day. I don't know if we're going to do that or if we already passed it. And then Australia Day at the end of the month is kind of a sum up of your Australia unit. Ice skating is a fun thing to do. See snow if you can. We live in Florida. I don't think we're going to have time to take a trip up north. And an aquarium is something we do. All right, February, I decided to do Africa because it is also Black History Month. And then for science, once a week, you can focus on Earth and space science. Holidays you could do this month are Groundhog Day, Lincoln's birthday, St. Valentine's Day, Feed the Birds Day, and President's Day, which is Washington's focus or birthday. Ideas are stargazing or MOSI, since it is a unit for science about Earth and space. Feed the ducks or birds because it's Feed the Birds Day. Solar System Walk, also related to science. Primate Sanctuary because, in Africa, thinking about primates. Or you could do another zoo trip or make that your first zoo trip. Okay, March is Europe. And I thought Europe makes sense because March is also St. Patrick's Day and he was a missionary in Europe. And so, of course, your holiday is St. Patrick's Day, also Dr. Seuss Day. For science, you can do earth science, geology, exploring soil and rocks. And it is also a good time to maybe choose to go to the zoo if you want to and you have zoo passes. All right, April, Asia unit. I'm like, Asia, April. All right, May or June, South America, your final destination. By this point, you're on the 7th continent. And your science unit is anatomy. You can talk about the human body, the different body systems or body parts, depending on the age of your child. And you can do an ant farm for your nature project if you want to. It's Mother's Day, Father's Day in June, Mother's Day in May, Flag Day on the 14th if you want to talk about our flag and flags around the world. That would be fun, kind of way to sum up this around the world study. And you could take a beach trip. Table of contents, materials list, tells you everything you need. Preparing for the adventure, monthly unit plans. Every month is on its own page, which I like. Blank lesson plan templates, so you can fill in your own notes and customize the lesson plans. Literature menu, that's kind of like a morning basket menu that incorporates Charlotte Mason. Example block schedule, how you might organize your daily routine if you want to. A memory work menu, how the themes can be used to have memory work and what things you can have them learning. And there's a writing guide on how to teach writing and a checklist. Here are the suggested materials to help your child take a journey month by month through the continents. And I want to add that it's not just the continents. Again, there's other themes within that tie in for history and science and geography and even weather in September especially. And we'll be talking about that in other videos month by month. All right, you're going to need a world globe, a world atlas for children, a world map to hang up if desired, library access, or you can just order books online related to the continents. You can get books on each continent, the True Book series, or Explore the 7 Continents. This is the Explore the 7 Continents series available on eBay, but there are other newer series on Amazon. There's a Usborne series, and there's also this really neat series called Mapping the Continents for each continent. You can also get books just on the animals of each continent. You may also want to get books referenced in the lesson plans month by month that are on the science or other concepts being taught. There's also other literature that goes along with it that would help tie in with the cultures. And you would need a printer to be able to print the lesson plans and other supplemental materials that you may or may not want, like the provided materials that they give. They have some handouts, and I will show you those. For each continent, they provide a suitcase, and on the back side you can copy the provided handwriting paper. They give 2 different types of handwriting paper, just plain lines and primary writing paper like this. And it's the same thing each month. Your child can get a suitcase and you have writing prompts that you could use to go along with them. A weather graph is also provided. September is a big weather focus. Before journeying into the world, it's world weather. There's the option of doing different kinds of logs, like you could do a temperature log, the weather graph, or a rain gauge graph, or all 3. Plain writing paper is also provided for them each month. They will need this or a journal to write on the topic that they choose from the menu. Other options that are not included but suggested are coloring page maps. You can Google that or look online for maps of each continent that they can color and reference, or you can just use their World Atlas and also the World Atlas online and Google Maps. There's also online coloring pages for each major biome. There's also online you can find passports so that every time they go to a new continent, they could get a little stamp in their passport. And then there's online a Me on the Map book. The first month of this, it's like a big introduction to the world through a Me on the Map unit where the student sees the world and then their country and then their state and then their town and then their home and then their room. And so that's stretched out into a long whole unit week by week where they do different activities and writing. There's also online Montessori cards for sale, usually on Teachers Pay Teachers or other sites, so that month by month you can get sorting cards for each continent where they can sort out things like the landforms, landmarks, as well as bodies of water, famous people, and common animals in each continent. I'll show you. Here's an example of a few of the North America cards. Each continent would have a header card and various cards. I do not own the rights to these images, so I'm not able to include them. So famous people of North America, I have a lot of different people, a lot of different landmarks and symbols, a few bodies of water cards, a few famous landforms, and a lot of animal cards. The animal cards I did find online for free. Then, as they're exploring and learning, you could put these up on a board, you could sort them. Also, you give them a few from each continent by the middle or end of the year, and they can decide which continent it goes in. There's also an idea that I decided to do. I thought to take a big sheet and project an image of a world map on it, just of the continents, and trace out the continent world map on a sheet. And then you can lay that on the ground and sort the cards on the giant sheet map. This is an example of a little passport that you can make. This one is my daughter's. I couldn't find my son's at the moment, and she's in preschool. And so while she wasn't really doing this with us fully, I would have her do the little fun parts and let her chime in her own way. And open it up like a little book and put pages in it. I just let her go ahead and draw in it. And you could do little stickers or stamps and just make it represent each continent as you journey. And what we did is we would, like if we were in Antarctica, before we launched into that continent, we would dress up in warm clothes or clothes that reminded us of that continent. We'd get like a real suitcase and pretend to pack it and put out the books that we were going to be reading on that and take a picture next to the globe with it showing the continent we were going to be doing. Little things like that. You could even take a little trip to near an airport and watch planes go by and imagine with your little suitcases in your car or not, or your little passport, that you are getting ready to travel into another continent in various countries. Okay, back to the list. Other things you might print are then and now writing paper. There's a lot of, they incorporate the holidays are incorporated. I wanted to make sure of that. And so in November, they're in the North American continent. So the history for that continent would be the Native Americans, the Pilgrims, colonial times. And there's this really great writing paper called Then and Now. And it's really adorable. And I'll show you. This is the Then and Now writing paper that could be used. I actually used this in kindergarten for my son instead of this year. And I thought, we'll reuse it. And I'm trying to remember, I don't think we ended up reusing it, but I thought it would still be good to include for others because it's just really adorable. So, it has transportation, homes, communication, and so on and so forth. Of course, you'll need internet access. At least it would be nice to have it. It's always nice to show little videos about the continents, the land, the animals, the history, using GPS to locate places on satellite view, using directed drawings on YouTube when you're doing the writing to go along with their writing. And then, when you're looking up the suggested lesson plans for science, the little experiments they suggest sometimes have pretty clear directions, but you could easily Google the title of it and see a visual of it online and get more details on the science behind it and materials that you might need for it if it's not enough details in the plans. You could also get zoo passes and have them explore the zoo as like a closing or a opening to this, talking about animals around the world, and that's pretty cool. There's actually a book about the zoo and how the animals are from around the world by continent. It's called Let's Go to the Zoo by Silver Dolphin Publishers. You could also get an animal atlas or similar books that give an overview of animals by the continents. All right, so it's always good too, it says, to read through the units in advance each month. Preparing for an adventure around the world. This page talks about each month you'll gather your books from the library or order online materials. Of course, you might want to just order the set on the continents ahead of time for the whole year and gather any other books like your atlas and other things like that. And then each month your child will get a little suitcase coloring page. They have their little routine of maybe pretending to pack and prepare for the journey. They got their little passport. You could, like I said, go and pretend to take off on a trip on a plane by watching planes if you have an airport nearby. And then you compile their work each month to make a little book for each continent. So their book would have a cover page with maybe a map on it, or coloring pages for any biomes, the suitcase coloring page, if you have animal coloring pages or landmark coloring pages, anything like that. Their writing would go in there, their directed drawings, and anything else that they did for that month. For the cover, instead of putting the map on the front, the child could also learn to type, and you could help them type a cover page on Microsoft Word and add little graphics and things. And so each month there's a different riddle given. You can read it and have the child try to guess where they're going to be going or which continent we're going to that month. It's an example of a map you might find if you Google online. Fortunately, I don't own the rights to a map to put with the curriculum. It's free. Maybe in the future I will work on finding ways to purchase and put it with the curriculum. So you can make a little book. For the future, he might make his own cover and then put the map as a page on the inside. Then you have your little suitcase with your writing on it. And then you could have a little opinion postcard to write your opinion of one place. And then you could have your animal research. So it's like the first week of each unit is, talking about the land. The second week of each unit is the animals. And during, the week you do the land, you could use the suitcase and or the postcard for quick writes and maybe do 2 pieces. Whereas the week you do the animals, it might be a little more in depth. And I, again, did not include this research paper because it has, again, graphics that I don't own. So I got to work on that. But you could still do writing about an animal that you learned about in that continent. We use this little research book I created. And then they could do their little creature report and write all about the animal. And so then you make a little book about the continent, and of course you can include other things if you learn about the people, or you have flags from countries you specifically learned about, anything like that you want to include, artwork. All right, let's talk about some of the things your child could learn or memorize or attain or get out of this year-long journey through the continent study. So you can make a memory work binder. Choose what you will put to memory this year. Play songs online during car rides, play during play or at mealtime to help children learn the concepts that you choose to focus on. Organize charts or lists of concepts the child is learning and reviewing to keep in the binder. Review current memory daily or more often until mastered. So I do memory work during our morning basket breakfast time. I have a little focus board with the things we're working on. Once learned, move it behind one of the binder dividers labeled Monday through Friday so that each day a different set of prior knowledge is being reviewed. Some items may need to be reviewed less than once a week and can be skipped sometimes. I found that to be very true. I started this memory binder idea. This was something I haven't seen others do, but as my son was learning a lot of things in preschool and kindergarten, I wanted to have charts, store them, and kind of have a way to review them. And I find I did not need to review them all that often once it was really set in there, but periodically for sure. And then just focus on what our current memory work is. All right, or you can simply review a few pieces each day and kind of have a looping system during morning math and memory time or morning basket time or whatever you want to call your morning time. And then you can just put a bookmark where you left off if you do the looping system rather than each day having different things under a day of the week tab in your binder. All right, so here's some ideas for memory work. You could do Bible memory, geography memory, science, math, and language arts. So for Bible memory, we do 1 verse per week or month. And sometimes I'll just choose a chapter, like right now we're doing Psalms 1. We've already done Psalms 23 and 100 in past years. And that might take longer than a month. So it's kind of flexible, and that's something you would choose on your own. And I have another video on how we keep a Bible memory index card box. For geography this year, here's the trajectory of what your child should memorize in order. And so if they've already memorized this thing, you just go to the next thing. It's not necessary to master all these things. It's just a list in the order of how they could be learned, from kindergarten or preschool on up, or later if the child hasn't learned it yet. So address, phone number, state, country, 7 continents, 5 oceans, hemispheres, equator, cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, that is, and which way the sun rises and sets. They can learn to sing or identify the 50 states if they already can sing them. There's a 50 states that rhyme song on YouTube. Name and describe common biomes like rainforest, wetlands, forest, tundra, desert, marine, etc. They can learn to identify common landforms and bodies of water like mountains, islands, caves, canyons, valleys, plains, hills, peninsula, ponds, stream, rivers, lakes, sea, ocean. This is a great book if you choose to focus more on the things I just named. Geography from A to Z talks a lot about landforms. This is the literature menu that helps you incorporate Charlotte Mason methods or components, missionary music and Monday, poetry and history Tuesday, wisdom, literature and writing Wednesday, or word Wednesday, I think I meant to put, like maybe doing a little reading out of your DK grammar book, theology and science Thursday, fairy tale and fine art Friday. I might do a whole separate video, or actually just going to my video that I can link on Morning Basket would explain this to you. I also have songs that match with these themes. I made playlists on YouTube and some ideas for summer review.